Hey, what is up, guys? Today we're doing Instagram Reality Part 3. Let's just begin. And I'm sorry for the big delay. So, for those of you who are new to the series or are just joining us today, the series works by me going through the r/Instagram subreddit, where we basically discuss the Photoshop techniques used to get the photos seen there. A lot of these videos are unscripted, so if I do say a bit too many times, do forgive me. I'm trying to get everything across without forgetting anything. So let's crack into it. Alright, first up we have this one right here. Last Okay, I just love the comment. I mean, you can curve my comment, but you can't uncurve that mahogany door frame. Okay, so if we zoom into that photo, we can see that this part right here, right about here, has been curved a bit, and obviously she's used a bit of the wee old liquify tool, or Adobe Gains as we like to call it. This door frame here, well, first of all, it's not mahogany, it's a hollow core door, but that's not important. The door frame here is obviously bent. It's had what's called image shearing, which is caused by the liquify tool. And if you don't know, the liquify tool is like a huge porridge. It's like you turn your photo, it turns your pixels into a soup, and as you move the soup around, you move the pixels adjacent to that soup. Basically the edge of the soup just moves inwards, it compresses in on itself, which is what you're seeing here. So that's why door frames, anything straight, when you use the liquify tool, it does bend and you get that effect. This second one, it was like one of the top posts of the last, I suppose, week or so, and it's just showing the differences in the two photos, and basically it's pretty big. The difference is pretty big. Her waist, for starters, is vastly different. And what I want to point out, or like draw attention to, is her neck. So if you look at that neck, one of the comments actually said that she looks like an NFL linebacker, which I found pretty funny. That neck is really well muscular and defined, and this is caused by the liquify tool. Like I said, when you move things around in the liquify tool, you move adjacent pixels. So my guess is that she tried photoshopping parts of her upper shoulder just like trying to slim it down, and which actually dragged the neck and the clavicle area outwards, which is what you get that triangular shape. I just want to point out that when I do say the liquify tool, I just mean it in a general sense. Like, you could be using the Facetune app, for example, and that serves a very similar purpose, and it has the same downfalls and drawbacks as the Adobe liquify tool. Obviously, it's just a bit harder to use, and it has I suppose less features as the Adobe one, but in principle they're all the same. So it just means any type of tool that creates a distortion. One other thing that we should talk about is how the colors in the image on the left are reflected. So the lighting here is obviously soft lighting. It's beautiful, it reflects her skin tone really well, but her skin tone is not just a function of makeup, it's also been edited in what we know as a lookup table. So a lookup table essentially just changes how the colors are represented. So we can change, say, white or skin tone to a darker complexion, and in doing so we get a more natural suntanned vibe. So are these the Martinez twins? No, they're not the Dobre brothers. Actually, they're the Stokes twins, right? Yeah, okay. Well, either way, this photo's just bizarre. Like, their shirts are wet, and their shirts, obviously, they just scream Photoshop straight away. It's not even the abs, it's just the way the shirts peek through the way the skin peeks through the shirt is just unnatural. But even other than that, their hair's not wet, and it looks like it's pouring down. For starters, if you look in the background, there's like puddles forming. There's like it's half a flood already, and the pants aren't wet. So it's all just a bit confusing as to why they went with this. Especially if you look at their abs. If you zoom in, you see that the air pockets on the lowermost ab is actually the same, or it's a mirror on both of their images. Now, I don't question that they do have abs. I do not think that's something that they photoshopped on, or they even Adobe gained themselves. But the rain effect has definitely been added in post-processing. I mean, just the way the rain reflects, it doesn't seem natural at all. Especially since most cameras, even some of the best on the market, have a lot of difficulty in picking up rain, so it just doesn't make sense. I don't know what they used, but it doesn't pick up rain that well. Ah yes, where would we be without the humble airbrush? So the airbrush is it's kind of a misnomer because the airbrush isn't just one tool. Nobody actually just uses one tool to fix all of these different effects, or to get all of these different effects really. The airbrush is a combination of many different tools, like for example the patch tool, clone stamp tool, healing spot tool would all be used to remove the blemishes here, and these would just essentially smoothen it out, or they would make it look like a piece of skin or a region of skin that's like unblemished. So you just like replace a blemished spot with an unblemished spot, and essentially that just smoothens the whole thing out. And then for the pores, we would use something called a Gaussian blur, or a very light Gaussian blur, which is you basically just paint that on and it just blends the pores together until it becomes blurry enough that you can't differentiate them. And then we get into the more complex stuff like lips, eyes, even the hair. So look at that. If you see that strand of hair, that thing, gone. It's gone in the next photo because, again, you notice that none of these professionally shot photos have any strands of hair going in the wrong direction. They're all perfectly manicured. They're all perfectly laid, positioned, and essentially the spot healing or the clone stamp tool do an excellent job in removing such things. And if by that all of those tools did not fix your problem, then you can still bust out the liquify tool. Especially here on the right, you can see that her nose is a bit asymmetrical, especially around the dorsal hump. And then on the left, it's almost perfectly symmetrical, so the nose bridge has been straightened out. And you can also take a look at the eyebrows, which have been filled in using what I would presume as a dodge or a burn. And that just essentially darkens the skin, or that's how I would go about it, and it just darkens the skin to just make it look like there's more hair there. So the eyebrows have been fixed as well. Or maybe that's just makeup, I don't know, I'm not a makeup expert, but this is something that I could probably get some help on. So yeah, there you go. So we're back to another case of bending space and time. Unless she's suffering from lumbar lordosis, which XX Sniper Wolf loves to brag about, she has no other way of explaining how she made those big Adobe gains. The only other way, actually, there is a way of explaining it. It's called liquify tool. She's standing behind something. She's standing in front of something very plain, so she's well aware of how the liquify tool works, and for that reason, it's unless the one on the left was posted somewhere else, there would be no other way of telling. And honestly, she's done a good job. Like, it's not too crazy, it's not too unbelievable. And also, if you notice her posture, she's standing very straight, so it's not like she's even trying to stick anything out just so to accentuate it, but she's just standing very straight. And for that reason, Adobe Gains or Liquify tool is the only other option. So this one's one of my favorites. She's a contender for the world's smallest waist, or unless Guinness World Records doesn't know about that, the world's smallest waist is 44 inches, and I think she's smaller. Yep, definitely. That's got to be less than 44. I mean, compare these two photos. This is the official one. This is her, and for that reason, she's standing in front of something very plain. So she knows her liquify tool, and she knows what she's doing. If you look at the leg on the right, on the leg on the right photo, the leg is just disproportionate. It's like the jeans are facing forward, but her legs are facing 45 degrees anti-clockwise from her direction. So for that reason, it's just not symmetrical, and it's a pretty big giveaway, at least for me, because like I said, liquify tool moves adjacent pixels. And bonus points to the very, very clever ones who actually noticed that the bottom of her blouse, I think it's a blouse, right? The bottom of her blouse is curving all inwards towards her waist. So if you look at that there's no way that a loose fitting blouse like that, like it's not strapped in by any other way, would curve in for no other reason towards her waist. So obviously that's a liquify tool. When you move the liquify tool, it just moved the fabric of the clothing in as well. So we have the last image, and this one here, people are all up in arms that it's a pretty big example of Photoshop, or it's an Instagram versus reality thing. I, on the other hand, think it's actually not that bad. There's hardly a lot of post-processing going on here, especially for context. The image on the left is her YouTube videos, and then the one on the right is her Instagram photos. So obviously, I just think it's a lot of posing. The posing makes her lower third look a lot more defined. It's not even like it's not quite well defined in the ones on the left anyway, so she's doing quite well for herself regardless. And then I just think it's a LUT, so a lookup table being applied on top of the images anyway, which you don't get in the YouTube videos, because most people don't use LUTs in their YouTube videos for some reason, unless they're trying to go for a cinematic effect or like some kind of vlog effect, which she is not doing. This isn't really much of a vlog, it's more like a talk show kind of thing. So for that reason, she just hasn't focused that much on it, and people, it does make a big difference, and people just think it's heavy post-processing or like Photoshop going on. So my point in showing this is just that don't believe everything you see on Instagram versus reality. Even you have to be critical about these kinds of things. Just use your own head. My job is just to inform you on what can be done and what can't be done using what we have now, the technology we have now. So alright, so that was Instagram versus reality episode 3. If you guys enjoyed it, do leave a like and do subscribe. That really helps me out. And also, if I can dish out the criticism, then I should be able to take it back. So here's my Instagram. If you guys want to check out some of the photos that I post, I do like to travel vlog, so do check it out. Do I edit my own photos? Yes.